Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. If you are listening to this in real time, today is Friday, January 6th, and this will be the very first weekend in 2023. I am recording this episode for you in my hometown of Houston, Texas, and even though it's January, it is 80 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny outside today. Although typical to Houston, it'll get down into the 40s tonight, and we'll just have to see how long this nice weather lasts. We have some new listeners in Bahrain and also Spain. I see you guys, and welcome to the Break Vape community. I am so glad to have you here. Today is episode 10, which means that I have been recording this podcast for you every week for 2.5 months now, and I'm honestly blown away by how many of you have found the podcast because I haven't marketed it at all, aside from a couple of posts on my personal social media accounts early on. So there are over 200 of you guys listening from all around the world in 10 different countries and 20 different states so far here in the United States. This absolutely blows my mind with gratitude. I am so humbled to be of service, and hopefully I am able to help you or someone you love to succeed in the battle against vaping. Quitting is hard. I've been there. I get it. But you guys, it's not impossible. It is 100% doable, and you are 200% worthy of living a vape-free life. If it was just as easy to put a vape down as it is to pick one up, then no one would be struggling with this addiction. But it is hard. If it were easy, no one would vape. People wouldn't be dying from a valley, and this podcast wouldn't exist. I don't want you to fail ahead of time by anticipating how hard quitting might be for you, and I also don't want you to ignore it altogether and just never try. Even if you try to quit vaping and you fail, I want you to keep trying over and over and over until you embrace the struggle. When you finally embrace what you think is failure, you'll come out stronger, wiser, and better equipped for your next attempt. Everything in life that makes us better human beings is quote unquote hard until we learn how to embrace the effort in what we find difficult. Success is in the effort, my friends. Effort challenges us. Effort makes us uncomfortable. Effort requires us to use our beautiful brains to think in new ways. Effort requires that we stretch outside of our comfort zones. Living a vape-free life and everything else that you can create for yourself is on the other side of your comfort zone, not in it. Your comfort zone is where hopes and dreams stay, exactly where they are. Hopes and dreams, ideas, plans, whatever you want to call it, all of these things will not evolve without you taking uncomfortable action. Last week, I asked you all to write down all of your pros and cons about vaping and email them into me, and I got some really interesting responses. Here are a few from the pro side. So a few of you guys said that on your pro list, you said switching from cigarettes to vaping is a pro. Vaping is convenient and easy to hide, doesn't have a cigarette smell. Some of you guys still get a little buzz, and many of you like the variety of flavors. And just a side note here, I used to like all of those things too, so I am not judging. We'll get to the number one pro in a minute, but first let's move on to cons. Here are the list of cons. Seems impossible to quit. I think we've all been there. Coughing, chest pain, controlling my life, wheezing, shortness of breath, hard to run or exercise because lungs burn, bad skin, bad sleep, anxiety and stress through the roof when vapes aren't handy, feeling like a hypocrite as a healthcare worker, setting a bad example for kids, exposing others to secondhand smoke, breaking laws like vaping in places where you're not supposed to, lying to loved ones about vaping and having to hide it, and the list actually goes on. So these are all answers that you guys had emailed into me what your pros and cons are about what you think about vaping. Oddly enough, the number one most common con was how expensive vapes are. And get this, the number one most common pro was that there actually wasn't one. What does that mean? That's right, my friends. Based on the data from this exercise, not only did the cons heavily outweigh the pros, but most of you were so fed up with the cons that you could no longer find a single reason to list a pro. One listener wrote in, and I quote unquote, "I can't find anything good about it anymore." So why do we continue to vape? Why do we continue to vape in front of our kids? Why do we let this unregulated addiction run rampant and set our children up for all of the same problems that we are struggling with? Do you have a reason? And if you have a reason, here's the big question. Do you like your reason? Is your reason likable enough for it to outweigh all of your cons? I can't answer that for you. Only you can. But I can tell you this. For me, being on the other side of this addiction, I have compassion for my past self. For the self that used to vape all the time, she was still a good person. She just wasn't dedicated yet to putting herself through the discomfort of stretching outside of her comfort zone and embracing the effort it took to quit vaping forever. And as my current self, I have compassion for all of you who are listening. I also have strategy for you. And when you're ready to stretch outside of your own comfort zone and embrace the effort that it'll take you to quit vaping forever, I've got you covered. I think of my future self also. I thank her for changing her thoughts and feeling her feelings, which, by the way, is the secret sauce to how to quit vaping for good. That wasn't easy. I thank my past self for taking everything she could, everyone she could with her, for putting herself out there, for risking embarrassment and judgment by starting this podcast, and for helping thousands of people live a vape-free life. This is what I imagine when I think of my future self. This exercise of meticulously thinking from your future self is an amazing concept that becomes a skill when you practice it often. And then it becomes an amazing tool when you begin taking actions to take yourself from concept to reality by doing things that align with your future self. What a great exercise going into 2023. I'd like to offer for you to try this concept on. Just play with it and really give it some thought. What does your future self look like? Is your future self living a vape-free life? Start getting very curious about quitting now and making decisions today and tomorrow that will hook your future self up. In doing this, you will give yourself the opportunity to look back one day and thank yourself for going through the uncomfortable part of breaking an addiction and just getting it over with for good. And if you need a little help and some strategy that really works, send me an email and let's have a chat. I'll explain how my coaching works so you can know exactly how I can help you. Okay, guys, that was a short episode, but I think a pretty powerful one. What an amazing way to go into 2023, imagining yourself from your future self. Really take that in. Please do the exercise. Okay, that's all I have for today. Take care of yourselves. Happy New Year. I will see you next week. And as always, cheers to your health.